After our first 2 weeks had complete night and day differences in our success on the field, I believe we'll truly find the true identity of this Clemson Tiger football team next week against the Wolfpack.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Clemson podcast. I am your host, John Bivens. On every single episode, you can find us over on X at I am John Bivens. We are a credentialed media member for the Clemson Tigers in baseball, basketball, and football. Thanks for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We are free and available to wherever you get your podcast at and over on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. After you listen to this podcast, make sure you check out one of the other 200 plus shows on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're grateful that Locked On Clemson is your first listen. Make sure you go find your second listen also on Locked On Podcast Network. Here on Locked On Clemson, you're getting all sports, all passion, all the time, where we're bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports. Today is Friday, September 13th. On this Friday evening, if you're listening on Friday, welcome to the late night show. If not, hopefully you're enjoying this over a great weekend. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app now, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The NC State game next Saturday is truly going to reveal this Clemson Tiger football team's real identity. Look, let's be real. All right, let's have a moment of just authenticity. Does that work? Hopefully that works for you. We had a disappointing first week. It's fair to say we've all processed that. We've all hurt with me for just a second as we relive that. We walked into week one expecting results. We walked in there week one expecting a rejuvenized, that we're going to pretend like that's a word, a rejuvenized offense, right? We expected this offense to be alive, completely different than last year. Cade Klubnik to be a different quarterback, playmakers making a difference, our defense showing up. We expected that fans expected to play a dominant game against Georgia. Some fans didn't expect to win. All fans expected a close game. We walked out of there with our tail between our legs, almost in shame, afraid of what the rest of the season would bring. We walked out of that not scoring a touchdown. Walked out of that with 3 points, feeling like the offense didn't change at all from last year. Some people, myself included, thought that offense against Georgia looked worse than anything we did last year on a bad offensive year. There were problems. There was a situation where that game truly felt discouraging, felt hurt, felt let down, felt betrayed. Am I over-exaggerating too much? No, I don't think so. I think truly we walked out of that feeling we just got lied to all offseason about how great this team is. We all got sucked into this hype that doesn't exist. We had a week to think about it, a week to process everything, and we went into week two against App State. Some of us were scared. App State's a good group of five team, one of the best two group of five teams, in my opinion, Liberty and App State up there. And we walked in, some of us scared about the potential of going down 0-2. Some of us being like, all right, maybe week one, just we had a bad offensive outing, number one team in the nation. Maybe we'll show truly who we are. Some of us thinking, all right, rebound time. Let's play a great game. None of us were expecting to have the game that we had against App State. I have not heard one Clemson fan say they expected Cade Klubnik to throw almost 400 yards, throw 5 touchdown passes, rush for 2 more touchdowns, and lead us on 8 straight touchdown drives in the first half, going 8 for 8 with touchdowns every possession we had. I have not heard one fan say that. And by the way, all that stats we just said was all in the first half. Cade Klubnik didn't play in the second half. He only played in the first half because that's all we needed. We ended up winning by 46 points on a great game. A game that was very encouraging, a game that was like, this is the team that everybody walked out with. So we walked out of week two thinking they just didn't show up against Georgia. Dabo had the quote that they walked in there hoping to win while Georgia expected to win, and that was shown on the field, and that's why it was there. Now we've heard Dabo say that we competed with Georgia. We lined up with them. We compare nicely against them. We just didn't show up. We didn't have the offensive players. We didn't have the playmakers making plays. There was bad reads, bad coaching, bad play calls, all the excuses in the world why we played bad against Georgia and why we played so dominant against App State. Some people are treating App State like an FCS team, like a very lower level team. That's not the case. They're not a Western Carolina where NC State struggled to beat them. Do you see? You like that subtle little dig right there? You got to keep it going. But no, they're an FBS team. They're a team that could be competitive. They wouldn't be a best team, but they could be a Vanderbilt level team in a Power 4 conference. They're that kind of talent. And we dominated them. So there was this new energy. There was this new confidence, new belief. Now we're going into the bye week, and we have one more week before we face NC State. And I truly believe our team is not going to be as dominant as they were against App State every single game, but we're also not going to go back to Georgia like we were. I think this NC State game, whatever it shows, is going to be what our identity is this year. I'm going to say that. We'll keep our predictions for next week because we have a whole nother week to dive into what we think is going to happen and talk about this game. Today, I just want to say this. Whatever team we say at NC State, whatever offensive outing we see, whatever performance we see there is going to be more accurate and more telling to the identity of this football team than what we saw this past Saturday against App State or opening weekend against Georgia. This coming game, a week from tomorrow, a week from today, if you're listening on Saturday, this game will be the true teller of what this offense will be. Our defense, I think we know their identity. I think we know our defense is a top 10 defense. Hopefully they can pull through a complete game. Our starters, I believe, did that. They kind of got pulled during the second quarter, and in the second quarters against App State is where our defense kind of showed some holes, kind of showed some weaknesses. That was discouraging. But we know our defense is going to be strong. I fully believe our defense is going to cause problem to Grayson McCall with the Wolfpack. Our offense, though, whatever they show against NC State, will have a better representative of what we're going to face. And here's why. Here's why I say that. One, we're going to face the NC State talent-wise is going to be more common to what we face throughout the season. We're not going to face Georgia level the offense. Obviously, they're the best team in the nation, much less. We're not going to face that every single game in the ACC. We don't have that talent in the ACC. There's, as much as I hate to say this, there's an overall gap from SEC to ACC, much less the best team in the SEC compared to ACC teams on average. There's a big gap there. So we're not going to face them. What we faced against Georgia isn't what we face the rest of the season. So I don't think our offense is going to be that bad, or hopefully it won't. But App State at the same time, App State's a good team. They can compete. But on average, the ACC is much better than App State. And so the team, again, we're going to be playing against, NC State, they, on paper, have a much more talented team than App State. So going into NC State, I believe we're going to see some kind of middle ground, but whatever we see is going to be much more reflective, much more true, much more telling of truly what this offense team is going to be. Whatever we see out of NC State, that's what you should expect the rest of the year. If we come out and dominate, man, get excited because we're going to do that a lot this year. If we come out and struggle, if Cade shows hints of that Georgia game, shows glimpses of what he did last season with turnovers, with decision-making problems, with all that issues, whatever you see in this NC State game, that's going to be the real identity of this offense, because I believe that's going to be more reflective of the opponents we're going to play throughout the rest of the season. So if you think they're going to be playing bad against NC State, probably going to be a bad season for us. If you think they're going to play great, get excited. Playoff run, here we come. We've kind of made our predictions in the past. We're going to save those for the future. But for now, all we've got to say is whatever team shows up, that's what we can look forward to and look to in the future as we continue on through this season. But interesting stats is looking at the snap counts. It's always interesting to see what players got what touches in two different kind of teams, a blowout and a both for us and when we got blown out. So we're going to look at those snap counts and see what players shared the field, what players were on the field most in both of those games. It's going to be exciting to walk through. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're doing this. You're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. That is ebaymotors.com. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. At my last job, when I left, I was able to help the company that I was leaving, find the next person for the role. And part of that was LinkedIn Jobs. And LinkedIn Jobs made it so simple that we could just relax back and allow LinkedIn Jobs to be a great resource for us to find the next hire. LinkedIn Jobs isn't just a job board. It helps us find professionals that you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. And in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong spots. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free today. Terms and conditions apply. Our snap counts were very different between that Georgia and App State game, but looking at those can truly help us realize who's going to be seeing the field this time. Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast. We're glad you're joining us. Hey, those games were very different. The game between Georgia and App State, as we talked about, very different going into, very different walking out of. But what's interesting to do is looking at quarterback position, running backs, wide receivers, each of our different style, and seeing what players got the most snaps. And I think that's going to give us a telling on, one, who our starters are, but two, who's our depth? Who's our secondary unit? Who's our backups that are going to be seeing the field if injuries happen, blowouts happen, needing a rest, that kind of field. So let's go through each position and talk about the snap counts. In that Georgia game, very simple. Cade Klubnik saw every offensive snap. He had 57 in that game. Total snaps, no other quarterback saw the field. Whereas, if you look into the second one, if you look in our week 2 against App State, Cade Klubnik had 42 of the snaps. Christopher Vizinia had 25. Trent Pierman saw 5. And then Paul Tyson even got in the game and saw 3 of them. So there's not much to talk about there. Cade Klubnik is our starter. He's going to be moving forward. But it's safe to say that CV is our QB2. There was a balance. There was a little bit of a battle going on right before the season started, middle of camp. Dabo talked about how there was a lot of competition for that QB2. Seeing this game, how many snaps that CV got in that week 2 a blowout, it's safe to say 25-5 reflects he's our QB2. Trent Pierman is QB3. So good to know there. I trust CV. That would be my choice for our QB2. As much as Trent Pierman impressed in the spring game and looked great, it was the spring game. CV is the one I'd want right now if Cade went down or if Cade turns into a bad performance, which I don't think that's going to happen. At the running back position, though, very different style here. You see, usually Dabo likes to play multiple running backs throughout, no matter what the game is. He doesn't usually lean on just one running back. Last year, Will Shipley and Phil Maffa split the reps a lot. 2 years ago, same situation, split reps. That's always been the case. We usually have one dominant back, but there's usually two getting a lot of snaps. Against Georgia, Phil Maffa saw 50 snaps. 50 of the snaps, he was a starter. Keith Adams got in there for 3 snaps, and Jay Haynes saw 2. Very interesting. And honestly, this was one thing that we talked about a lot with Georgia is when you're down that much, put in your backups just to see who you have, how much you have, which they didn't do with quarterbacks. But running backs, Phil Maffa seems like he is by far the leaning one, which we understand. We receive that. We 100% agree. But when you go to the App State game, we kind of got to see that. Georgia, Keith Adams saw one more snap than Jay Haynes. But in this App State game, when it turned to the backup time, Jay Haynes took the spotlight. You had Phil Maffa got 27 snaps, Jay Haynes 22, with Keith Adams following less than that, 6 snaps less at 16. We saw David Eazy-E get 9, and then Tristan Rigby got 1 snap himself. So much different situation there. That was interesting to see, but it's good to know. I believe that Jay Haynes is a better suited RB2. Especially Garrett Riley is known for having that shotgun formation with a running back on both sides. I like Phil Maffa and Jay Haynes being the two back there just because I believe their playing styles are so very different. Phil Maffa is the power guy. Jay Haynes is more of a shifty guy. Keith Adams, I think, is a little bit more like Phil Maffa. So I think having that versatility, having that power back, speed back combo, not that Phil Maffa's only power. We saw him break off for an 83-yard touchdown run. He can get out in the open and book it. But having Jay Haynes, that more of that receiving back, more of that true shifty, elusive back, I like the contrast between those two. So I like them being 1 and 2. I was very discouraged Georgia seeing that running back count. So that was different to see. But yeah, moving forward, I like Phil Maffa, Jay Haynes 1 and 2. The wide receiver counts, very different game here. In Georgia, we saw a total of 7 wide receivers get snap. Antonio Williams had the far greater lead. He had 45 snaps. The second highest snap count in that Georgia game was Cole Turner with 29. That was frustrating. In a game where you need points, you need explosive plays, down big, you need people making plays, and we had Cole Turner as our wide receiver too. That hurts. Tyler Brown was less than that at 26, coming off an all-freshman season. Troy Stellato was 4th with 19, Adam Randall 15, and our 2 rookies. This is the one that upset me the most. Bryant Wesco only saw the field 12 times, and TJ Moore only saw it 6. That's disappointing. That's a little disappointing there. That was frustrating going out of that Clemson or Georgia game. We saw the exact opposite that when it came down to the Georgia game. I believe we saw a total of 18 wide receivers see the field. Adam Randall had the most snaps with 34, and these snaps are not what's the word I'm looking for? Valid to look at who's going to be seeing the field the most, because we saw a lot of people get snaps later on that won't be when it's a close game. But we saw Adam Randall get 34, Troy Stellato 33, TJ Moore 22, Antonio Williams 19, with Turner also 19. Wesco had 16, so a couple more than the rest went through. Clay Sweeney saw the field 7. Tyler Brown only got 5, but he did get injured early in the game. He'll be back for that state game. Hopefully he's day-to-day right now. But it was encouraging the wide receivers in that state game because their starters were different. Our starters were Williams and Bryant Wesco with Adam Randall in there. I liked Troy Stellato not being on the field in the starters. I liked Randall honestly wasn't above Wesco, which I really like. Cole Turner wasn't on the field early, which I love to see. I think we have the playmakers there. We need to make sure the playmakers are seeing the field. And then the tight end position. Against Georgia, we saw 3 tight ends. Jake Brenning still getting 48. Olsen, Pat Henry, 15. Josh Sapp, 10. And then in this App State game, we saw a little different. We did see still Jake Brenning still getting 35, but the backups, tight end 2, we saw a split count between Olsen, Pat Henry, and Josh Sapp. They both had 16 each. We saw 4 other people get in there. Marcus Dixon, the freshman Christian Bettenker, Banks Pope, Colby Shaw, they got in there some too. But it's safe to say Jake Brenning still's tight end 1. He should be, no doubt there. But a little bit different. They're right there at the tight end 2 spot with Olsen, Pat Henry, Josh Sapp. I think Olsen's going to be your tight end 2, but I think Josh Sapp is a fair guy if he gets in there as well. He's similar there. And lastly, we'll finish up talking about the offensive line. Against Georgia, we only saw 6 offensive linemen play. This is something we haven't talked about, but Matt Luke came in saying they want a rotation. They like their 5 starters, but they want 7 to 8 guys playing. And we only saw 6. We saw Blake Miller, Tristan Lee, Ryan Lithicum all get 57 snaps, which is the exact same snaps that Cade Klubman got. They were on the field the whole time. Walker Parks got 53, Colin Sadler 36, and Marcus Tate 25. I'd like to see a little bit more rotation. I'd like to see a little bit more players in there. In the App State game, very different story. Ryan Lithicum, Colin Sadler, Harris Sewell, 59, 59, 54. Safe to say those 3 are not going anywhere. Blake Miller, who's the captain, got 42. I do think they pulled him earlier just because he is the captain, plus he's senior, give him some break. Tristan Lee also got 42. And then we got to see a lot of backups, right? We got to see beyond them a total of 10 other linemen get some snaps counts. Elijah Thurman got 31. Dietrich Pennington, 31. Walker Park, 17. Mason Wade, 13. Chapman Pendergrass, 10. We got to see a lot of other people with that too. So that was really good to see, really encouraging there. We also got to see some younger guys getting some playing time. Nathan Brooks, 6. Wade Boggs saw the field. Jackson Hall, Mason Johnston, Bryce Smith. Got to see some players seeing the field. So I like seeing the rotation there. Hopefully moving forward, when we get to this NC State team, like we talked about, that's going to be more of our identity. We'll see more than 6. I'd love to see us getting 7, 8, 9 guys rotating in there consistently. Stick with our starting 5, but allow some people to come in and provide some breaks. That's exciting. But either way, what we see against NC State is going to truly tell us what our identity is, and we're definitely going to break down the snap count after we get through with that game. But here on Locked On Clemson, like we've said, you get all sports all the time, not just football. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. Yesterday, Clemson got a huge recruit, top 100 recruit for men's basketball. Brad Brunell pulling work for the class of 2025 with our second recruit for the class. We're going to talk about what difference that truly makes for this team. Warmer, sunnier days are calling, so fuel up with them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and even Keto. Factor's fresh, Nova frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you always have a new flavor to explore. Crush your wellness goals this July with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. And you can treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon. Head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box. Plus, you get 20% off your next month. That code is lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com. Zack Foster is going to make a huge difference for the Tigers in 2025 and keep them competitive. Look, Clemson's coming off a great basketball season. Little iffy throughout the end of the season. Went on a great run, but little iffy throughout spots. ACC tournament played like booty, but then had a great run in the tournament, running to an Elite Eight run where we almost beat a great team for the second time. But we had some upsides. Beat Arizona as the number 2 seed, so that was great to see. Going in 2024, our class is set. We have 6 different people coming in that we weren't on the team last year. 3 new recruits, all 3 stars: Dallas Thomas, Ace Buckner, Dell Jones. And then we also have 3 transfers for Christian Reeves, Jaden Zachary, and Victor Locken. Christian's for Duke, Zachary's from Boston College, and Locken is from Cincinnati. Now we're looking ahead to 2025, and yesterday we received news of Clemson getting a top 100 recruit, 4-star recruit, Zack Foster. Zack Foster is our second recruit from the 2025 class that is committed, joining Trent Stenauer, who is a power forward from North Carolina, 3-star. But Zack Foster is going to make a big-time difference. He's going to truly make a difference. 2024, our recruiting class was 45th in the nation. Hey, we're already up to 12th in 2025. Obviously very early. We're not going to stay there, but we're already up to 12th. That's a little bit of bragging rights right now. But Zack Foster is going to make a difference. Let's talk about truly who he is, and then we'll talk about where he fits in with this team. He's a combo guard, 6'3", 165 pounds. So he's got a little height on him. Like we saw, it's about 4-star recruit. He's a composite score of a 0.96 according to 24/7 Sports. 12th combo guard, 8th in the state of Georgia, where he's from, and 69th in the nation. He chose Clemson over Virginia Tech, Cincinnati, Furman, and Georgia. We got to see his recruit live on Thursday when he chose Clemson over Virginia Tech when he narrowed them down to their final 2. A lot of people predicted that he was going to Virginia Tech, but he switched it all up and chose Clemson. Here's what Adam Finkelstein from the director of scouting from 24/7 says about him. A little bit long, but here's what he says. It says Foster is a multi-talented combo guard in the midst of a clear ascension with skill, feel, good instinct, and skill untapped physical tools. His best basketball is still a way in front of him. Little complex sentence. He says he's smooth and skilled with the ball in his hands, handling some craft inside the lane. He can be a bit turnover prone. He developed into a legit combo guard, play both on and off the ball, be able to see the floor and make quick read. Quick sling shooting stroke with soft natural touch. Shot 34% from the three. Projects as a shot maker at the Nets level if he can eliminate occasional stretches where a ball goes flat. Biggest limitation is physical strength, yet to fill out his frame. A bit lanky, limiting his ability to play through contact, finish, and traffic. Though that means he has a real untapped side of his body changes, solid positional size, a long 6 foot 8.5 inches wingspan, good pace with the ball, some bursts of explosiveness in those space. Increased upper body strength will also help Foster on the defensive side. He's a fluid lateral mover who utilizes his length well. Also has a high steal rate, almost 2 per game, and good rebounding guard, almost 4.5. He's relatively young for his grade, won't turn 18 until next summer. Given his versatility tool set and the rapid rate of his recent progression, it's still possible he continues to ascend for the foreseeable future. Basically, sum all that up, he's a really good player that's still going to get even better. This is a guy who has yet to reach his full potential. Most high school students are. If you're reaching your peak in high school, probably not going to be a D1 athlete, but he's a great player. Where he fits in with the Clemson team is interesting. Usually Clemson doesn't play a lot of freshmen, right? We have a couple freshmen that have played on the hardwood for us in the past years, but usually they're a team that lets the freshmen sit for a season before they get a lot of minutes. Zack Foster has the potential to come into this team, barring any big transfers, and truly make a difference day one. And here's why. This year, our 2 guards are both combo guards. I think they'll share 1 and 2 responsibility. Chase Hunter and Jaden Zachary. Jaden Zachary is a transfer. He only playing 1 year for Clemson, coming from Boston College. 6'2", 220. He's got a 3-point, got good defense, good with the ball. And then obviously Chase Hunter, Clemson hero, had some great performances in the tournament in a couple years for us. He's going into his 5th year at Clemson, taking advantage of the COVID year. He's 6 foot 4.5 inches. He's a grad student as well. So both of them are combo guards. That's our starting 1 and 2. If Brad Burnell throws out anybody else at 1 and 2, we're going to have issues. I'm going to directly write him a letter, a very stern letter. I might even sign it Karen. But that should be our starters 1 and 2 for sure. Both of them are gone after this season. When you look at who's going to fill their spots, you got Dylan Hunter. He'll be a senior next year. He'll get some playing time. Dylan saw playing time a little bit as a freshman as well. Definitely a lot as sophomore this year, a lot as junior, I'm sure. He'll probably start. Jake Heidbreeder, he's more of that shooting guard. He's got a great 3-point, but he's not one to bring the ball out a lot. He's good at assists, though. He'll probably play a lot at the 2. Then you got a couple guards that are a little bit younger, right? Dallas Thomas, he's 6'9". He's more of a 3. But you got Dell Jones, who's a freshman this year. Just talked about a recruit. He's a 3-star recruit. He probably won't see the field or court a lot this year. He will next year, though, so he'll compete with them. And then you also have Matt Kelly, who's graduating this year, so he won't have to compete with him. Ace Buckner, who's the son of a longtime legend for Clemson with Buckner. His father, Greg, played there for a while. He'll probably see the court. But the point is this. We're losing our starting 2 guards. Dylan Hunter is probably for sure going to start in 2025. He's the only other guard on the team that has proven to be competitive, proven to be good against ACC talent. The rest are unproven abilities. The rest are not proven to be successful yet, mainly because the rest are freshmen. Jack he's a transfer in from Air Force. The redshirt last year, didn't play at all due to injuries. Also, I think Brad just redshirted him because he knew last year we had a lot of guards. You had obviously some great players down the field down the stretch of the season. So I think it was smart he redshirted, keep that 2 more years of eligibility for this year and next year. But Zack Foster, being the talent that he is coming in, has a big potential to make a difference right off the bat. So Clemson had coming off a great season in 2023. I'm excited about 2024. Only weak spot there right now. I think we're a little thin at the big spots at 4 and 5 position. But overall, extremely excited about Zack Foster. That's a big time recruit. He's going to make a big difference when it comes down the stretch for us in 2025 and keeping us competitive. But with all that being said, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. Now go check out the Locked On College Football podcast. NIL deals, conference realignments, rivalry games. Spencer McCaughlin gets you up to date and up to speed throughout the entire season for college football. You can find the link to that in the description, so you don't need to search it out. It is part of the Locked On podcast, your team every day. Next week, we'll dive into more about what we can expect from that NC State game. Might even have a guest on to talk about NC State. We do want to let you know about it. Make sure you join our Locked On Clemson Insider program. You can text with us at Tested Bonus Videos. To join that, text Clemson at 864-252-1907. If you haven't, make sure you're subscribed. We're on the goal to reach 1,500 subscribers. So it would help us out if you'd share the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not. But we can't wait to see you on tomorrow's or next week's episode, bright and early on Monday. Until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, what do? You know what to do. Go Tigers.